Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you may be watching this transmission. Welcome to Climate Change number one. An episode, it's a very special episode of Climate Change number one. Now, a lot of people they bought into the whole global warming scandal. Like, we're warming the globe and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people, a lot of scientists were discredited. A lot of scientists bringing actual facts and historical data for the last 100, 200 years were discredited. A lot of people lost their jobs at high positions for going against the whole global warming fiasco. And I still remember Al Gore at the UN saying that by 2019, January 2019, and this was like 12, 13 years ago, he said that the polar ice caps will be completely melted by then. They've actually gotten bigger. And then now, and also, I think he also stated that Florida would be 3 to 6 feet underwater by the summer of 2019. And that hasn't happened either. I mean, there's a hurricane or two since then, but everything's there. The Florida Keys are still there. Everything's still intact. So what is happening, people? And so that was an easy sell at the time because, they needed a new scare. They needed a new way to tax us or get donations or whatnot. Fine. That was the new thing, right? And then that wasn't working out for them, and it just wasn't going anywhere because it just wasn't happening. So now it's climate change. Do humans affect climate change? Yes. How much? I don't even think 2%. That's just me. What do I know? That's my opinion. Why? One good Mount St. Helens volcano puts more soot and ash. Look up Mount St. Helens eruption in Washington State. Look it up on Google right now and see what I'm talking about. Puts more soot and ash into the ionosphere, into our atmosphere, that we as humans would do in 100 years. That blocked out the sun. They had longer winters. They had cool temperatures for a long time because of that whole Mount St. Helens fiasco. And that was huge. That actually brought a lot of damage to the earth with yes, our oceans are filled with garbage. Yes, there's pollution. Yes, this is stuff that we could work together to clean, to get rid of plastic, to get the fine. We're headed in the right direction. Yes. But giving money to Al Gore, I don't think it's going to fix the problem, right? And all these private jets these guys fly. Now, let's get realistic here. The sun does have its own elliptic orbit. It does. I'm no scientist or astrologist or anything. But for some bizarre reason, everybody is a global warming or a climate change expert, right? My mechanic is a climate change expert. My who's that? The lady at the post office is a climate change expert. Who was I talking to a couple of weeks ago? Some guy that drives a tour bus is a climate change expert. If I had a barber, he'd be a climate change expert too. I don't have one. Everybody's a climate change expert all of a sudden. And you know how technical and how in-depth and how geological and how historical this whole thing to actually map out? It's worse than trying to map out time. It's worse than going mapping out the stars. This is like so technical that we don't have the answers for this, okay? We can't control the sun on its orbits too. We're due for another ice age in the next 12 to 65 years. Our 800-year cycle's coming up. Okay? Well, we had the mini ice age. Look it up on YouTube. There should be a documentary still up unless it was taken down. The mini ice age. Okay? So, climate change. Now, listen to this. Climate change has replaced jobs and housing as the number one issue for young Australians, survey shows. Let me take a moment of silence here while I allow my reprogramming of this hard drive I have up here in my head. I have some bad sectors in my brain because I'm going to reread that again because I don't think your ears and my ears believe what I just said here. Climate change has replaced jobs and housing as the number one issue for young Australian survey shows. Mamafangulo. Since when you being housed and sheltered and having a proper job, people are severely underproductive than they were back than 30, 40 years ago. So you pushing pencils at some job or filing reports, I don't understand. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So if people thinking that their jobs are creating or going against the climate change because they're producing more energy and destroying and unsheltering, or shelter is not important. Go to those tent cities and see how much garbage surrounds them when the city comes and takes down those tent cities. How much pollution and garbage and chemicals are in the ground, and feces and all that stuff. And you tell me if shelter is important or not. In the space of 12 months, climate change has become a single most important issue for young Australians, rising from fourth spot and displacing mental health. What? What? Housing and jobs, according to Triple J's What's Up in Your World survey. A massive 43% said climate change was the biggest issue affecting the generation, up from 11% a year ago. Okay, could they prove to us exactly what's going on? If the Earth warms up, we're going to have, scientifically or astronomically out there, we should have more hurricanes, right? Actually, we've had less hurricanes in the last 5 years than we did. I mean, almost 3/4 feel negative about the Earth's future, and women were significantly more likely to feel negative than men. On the third of young people who have received Centrelink payments, more than a quarter have received rebouted notice in the last 18 months. 42% are living with their parents. Nangs are the most widely consumed legal drug that take the high, while marijuana, MDMA... These are other stories here? Is this the... Oh, these are... Oh, okay. So these are the different... This is like the different questionnaire questions they had there, right? Ketamine use is climbing up 8% in 3 years. Cocaine use has shot up by 14% in that time. Pill testing is also very popular. A huge majority think it would save lives at festivals and would use a testing service if it was available. Let's go pop pills. What the hell am I reading here? 42% of LGBTQIWXYZ young people haven't come out. 42%. That's a lot. That sounds like a lot, but it's down 47% from last year. Sending naked selfies is pretty common, more than 2/3, though many times they're unsolicited ones from dudes. More young people are practicing safe sex than a year ago, up 5%. Sexual harassment of women is rife. Half experienced this in the 12 months and felt most unsafe out at night on public transport or at gigs. We want to know more. Here's the detail. Young Aussies and the future. 74% are positive about their future. That's good. Future looks bright. You got to wear shades, right? How positive are you about the future in Australia? So, extremely positive, slightly positive, unsure, and negative. And how positive are you about the Earth's future? Wow. 1%. Slightly positive, unsure, and then look at this. 43% said that climate change was the biggest issue affecting their generation. What is the most pressing issue affecting your generation? So here it is, climate change. Oh, guys, I think, honestly, let's look at this, okay? The number one thing that's affecting our generation, before anything, I think would be higher education would be the number one problem here. For the reason of a lot of people jumping into these student loans, and then this disallows them from buying housing. This leads to mental health. And when people are stuck with student loans and wrapped in credit card debts and they're enslaved at a younger age, it leads to drugs, not getting the jobs they want, housing affordability. It all starts with debt. Okay? I think crime would be second. Then I think housing affordability would be third. Getting a job would be fourth. Mental health would be fifth. And then climate change would be last on my list. I think higher education is for the young people, I'm saying. For my generation, the number one thing in my generation at 41 years old would be housing affordability would be number one. Mental health would be two. Drugs, then getting a job, and then crime. So, and climate change would be last. Comment in the comments below, guys. I want to know which you guys would put this at. Would you put, I think housing affordability for my age bracket, yes. But for a teenager, higher education is the biggest lie in the world. And this leads to all this other crap here except climate change, right? Or, I mean, yeah, climate change, if they're burning their degrees and diplomas at the same time, that might cause a spark in climate change. 96 believe that they're already experiencing the effects of climate change. How can you prove that if you've only been on Earth for less than 20 years? How do you know? I could tell you economic change we've been experiencing and job changes, how people used to pay their house off in 5 years. Why aren't they teaching these kids how back in the day at 18% interest, people would pay their house off in 5 years, making $3 an hour? Why don't they teach the kids this so they can find an economic solution for the future instead of talking about things that are not going to get anywhere and there's no way of fixing? You know, yes, we could contribute by picking up garbage, this, cleaning our ocean floors, doing this, switching to solar energy, blah, blah, blah. Yes! Have you changed anything in your life in the last 12 months to benefit the environment? Well, I poop less. I've noticed I've been pooping less, so that might be a change. 60% say they could personally make a difference to help the planet. Do you think racism is a problem in Australia? 85% says yes. Oh my God. That's a lot. Why? How many? Do you know what it means to be a racist? Okay? Do you know what racism really is? It's a spoof word. There's only one race on this planet, and it's a human race. That's it. It's a spoof. It's like conspiracy theorist. It was a spoof word given to someone that was basically there eyewitnessing the truth in 1963, November 22nd. Do you know what racism, hatred that comes in deep, brutal, racist, deep-seated thought racism? 85% believe. So then the people that actually voted on this must be in that category then. 85%. Yeah, racism is a problem. Okay. What they're trying to divulge as what racism means, yes, it's a problem. But it's like less than 1% of the, or 2%, like, let me be conservative here. 2% of the population is a less than that. I think it's less than 1%, is a deep-seated, dark, demented, a racist. I think this has gone too far. 69% are proud to be Australian. Should be 100%. Young Aussies and work and money. So 47% work full-time, 20% are studying, casual work, work part-time, contract work, unemployed, and home duties. Okay, that's a nice... 1 in 2 said buying a home in the next... buying a house was priority in the next 5 years. That's good, living the Australian dream. What's your living arrangement? So 42% are still living with their parents. So reality hasn't kicked in. Share a house at 23 points. Renting with a partner at 16 points. Own/buying a house and apartment 10%. And renting alone 5% and other. This is scary. Renting alone should be higher because that's usually when people are kind of independent, kind of working their way towards one day marrying and finding the proper, 2 and 3 have HEC debts. What is the size of your HEC? I think these are student loan debts in Australia. So only 1% is at 100 large, then 50 to 99 is 7%. So I think these are, comment below, let me know if these are student loan debts. Have you received Centrelink payments? 29% of those have received roboted notice in the last 18 months. Young Aussies and drugs. 63% have taken illegal drugs in the past 12 months. It's probably why everyone's voting for that global warming is the biggest problem. Which of the following illegal drugs have you consumed in the past 12 months? Others, yeah, stay off the synthetics, people, please. Cannabis, synthetics, stay off that garbage. Meth, stay off of everything, okay, guys? Meth, ketamine, I don't know what ketamine is. Hallucinogens, why the hell would you even take this crap? Cocaine, ecstasy, MDMA, and marijuana cannabis is number 1. Agree that pill testing would lead to fewer deaths at festivals. Would you use a pill? Would you use pill testing if it was available? 86% said yes, 14% says no. 1 in 2 drug users have taken drugs into a festival in the last 12 months. 78% only ever take drugs in social situations. Which of the following legal drugs have you consumed in the past 12 months? So I haven't taken any of these drugs, so 23%. Then it goes down to the Valium, codeine, Xanax, Ritalin, prescription opioids. Who the hell goes on prescription opioids? God, please. 5% have sought help for problems they've had with drugs. Alcohol is a drug just like cannabis or ecstasy. 51% agree. 32%, 5, blah, blah, blah. So, young Aussies in sex relationships. Female and male. And 1 in 2 people have used dating apps or website to meet people. Ooh, 68% has sent a naked selfie. Wow. So, 1 in 5 regulars see naked selfies that weren't meant for them. Wow. Young Aussies and feeling safe. Feeling unsafe. So it's a big graph here. I'll leave a link below to this thing. This is a really good thing if you're living in Australia and kind of trying to understand where the younger generation is headed. You know, they are our future, right? And to me, it's just another day. But this is scary. This is a big eye-opener for a lot of people out there living in Australia because, I mean, if you're going to start voting in people for climate change instead of voting potential members of parliament that are actually going to tackle the housing, banking, because climate change is going to just increase government spending. That's all it's going to do. It's going to increase more government spending, and they're not taxing enough, so they're going to tax for breathing until it gets to a point where it's like it's not climate change. It's humans. Humans are human. How would I put this? Laws or the way of humankind and our beliefs are what's destroying what is real out there, I guess, in a way to so say it. Or let me know in the comments below, guys. If you want to support this transmission, go ahead and donate $1 a month on Patreon, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Mike Martins Official. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.